it just reminded me that you can't focus on the noise of the outside world. And unfortunately, a lot of people do. A lot of people focus on the noise, and a lot of people enter the dark space of the noise to benefit them. And when you are a person who lives your life.
It started off much like any other fairy tale adapted for television. A major producer, an eye-catching new reality program, and a breakout actress who was the center of attention in every scene she appeared in. However, beneath love and marriage, Huntsville's stage drama and well-executed advertisements, something far more profound was taking place. Carlos King, the man who came up with the idea, and Melody Shari, the woman who helped make it a hit, are engaged in a quiet struggle. Additionally, the courtroom is now at war. People believed Carlos King was the creative force behind Black reality TV for a very long time. His touch was the strongest. It was likely that everyone would soon recognize your face if your name were on his call sheet. Without paying rent, he left viewers with drama, tears, betrayal, and moments that persisted. On social media for weeks.
After the party was over, we got home. I said, all right, Mariah, let's call your dad so you can go hang out with him, you know. Call. Let me let you listen to it. Now listen at this.
Yes, sir. So you're not gonna get a knee today?
No, I'm gonna do my best for her.
Okay. You're not getting her today?
I'm gonna get her on my day.
Now, you hear me laugh? Because it's funny to me. You stood out here in this party for 30 minutes talking about, I should be able to have her on her birthday.
He acts like, no, it's Mel, like, no.
It's the reason I move like I move. Markel's very manipulative. I wish I had have had my children by a man, not a queen, but a man.
However, every empire faces challenges. Additionally, those with knowledge claim that this one was founded on contracts that withheld information, exploitation, and silence. It was not intended for Melody Shari to alter the narrative. It was she, not the author, who was the main attraction. She was watching something else while her admirers saw her struggle with heartbreak and put in a lot of effort on screen. How a show she helped launch was gradually removing her from the narrative, how her story was being altered, and how her image was being marketed. Why did everything change? A legitimate case was brought in Georgia's Fulton County. It's not a fabricated narrative for the cameras. This had nothing to do with backroom rumors or trivial disputes. This concerned digital signatures she claimed she never provided, forgeries that led to international license agreements she never signed, using her name without authorization, and forgeries. This type of instance makes even reality TV seem uninteresting. The internet exploded when it was announced that Carlos King had been taken into custody after being questioned about identity theft and fraud. Individuals were uncertain about what to think. Carlos is credited with creating the genre as a whole. And Melody, who was cool under pressure and never sought to be the victim, was now viewed in a completely different light. Not only as a reality TV celebrity, but also as a woman reclaiming her authority. You could always find the indications. If you looked a little more closely, Carlos King conducted research. He was aware of his wife's identity. Melody had long since stopped grinning during talks about Carlos' upbringing. She took a step back from what was happening behind the scenes. She started creating her own stuff, which was unfiltered, unadulterated, and brimming with genuine passion that you can't fake for ratings. She was delivering a very different story off camera, and Bond began to notice this. This narrative dealt with betrayal, being altered to appear unstable after her divorce, losing control over her own image, and most importantly, being exploited. Subsequently, some contracts didn't match what she believed she had signed, leaked emails, audio files, receipts, and stipulations. Legal documents claimed that she never consented to the exploitation of her intimate moments in spin-offs. Her background is marketed as though it were part of the network, and her voice appears in trailers for new cities. In a 12-minute Instagram Live, Carlos disputed everything while remaining composed, even a little arrogant. That didn't stop the damage, though. Melody was already working on another project when Carlos tried to alter the narrative. It wasn't just the court she was going to. She was building too. However, she wasn't merely constructing to win the case. She was preparing to take on the role of queen. Carlos might have faced consequences as a result of the case. However, it was Melody who ignited the fire. Those who knew her well claimed that this had nothing to do with exacting revenge. It was about a fresh plan and change. She was writing for herself this time. One hand holds proof, while the other holds a pen. Carlos King wasn't merely a producer, he was the gate's supervisor. For over a decade, his name held significance in network meetings and casting rooms. You likely had to go through him if you wanted to go on black reality TV, and that benefited him for a very long period. However, his reputation wasn't the only thing at risk when the charges of fraud, forgery, and identity theft were made public. It served as the cornerstone of his entire brand. Carlos performed flawlessly in front of the cameras. He appeared on the radio.
Be people who's gonna poke you to get a reaction out of you. They're gonna make up lies. They're gonna just say things to get people to join them in their hatred for you. And you just have to pray for them. And as you pray for them, pray for God to fulfill them with something that they're missing. Because you have to be missing something. You have to have a hole in your heart to spend your time going against people who did nothing to you.
No formal statement or press conference was held. Only he, a ring light, and a well-thought-out message were present. He said that everything was a smear campaign, acting like the misunderstood artist. To improve it, he even included a few spiritual quotations. He claimed that this was only one chapter of the book and that he was being tested. When he claimed to be calm, some admirers believed him, but others didn't trust him for a moment, particularly after Melody's lawyers made public records that stunned everyone. Her digital signature appeared on a licensing deal for a reunion program that she never accepted, according to one leaked file. Another included emails from Kingdom Reign Entertainment, discussing how to maximize the drama in the footage of Melody's divorce. One producer even suggested using a video of her sobbing in a promotional piece without getting her consent. The best thing is that a Love and Marriage Detroit trailer later featured the identical clip. Melody didn't say anything at first. No lengthy speeches, no sobs, just calm, well-thought-out acts. She would make references to sayings about ownership, power, and legacy while live streaming on Instagram. Her admirers pieced it together. The comment section contained numerous courtrooms. Carlos made an effort to maintain composure, but pressure was mounting from all directions. The network that created a whole franchise based on his show became silent. There were no postings or comments, just an unsettling stillness. According to others there, meetings were taking place behind closed doors. Sponsorship began to decline. One major cosmetics company reportedly canceled its planned campaign with the franchise. While Carlos was out front attempting to make things right, his streaming agreement with a major platform was placed on hold for an indeterminate period of time. His empire's back end was disintegrating rapidly. However, this was no longer only a legal battle. It had become a topic of cultural contention. Media women, particularly black women who work in manufacturing, started to back Melody. Once more, Amanda Seales posted her live stream. Renowned campaigner Kama Mallory commended Melody's courage. Even Candy Burroughs, who had a tense relationship with Carlos due to intellectual property, began to enjoy tweets that supported Melody. Suddenly, this was more than just Carlos and Melody. It dealt with an entire system that many believed was based on exploiting the women it claimed to be assisting. Carlos did, however, have some supporters. In a supportive tweet, name leaks referred to him as a hustler and a genius. That was not warmly received. Accusations that she was shielding the old guard flooded her responses. Melody's ex-boyfriend Martel Holt then made a vague remark about how Carlos always had his back. Like fuel on a fire, that one sentence ignited Twitter. Supporters persisted in disparaging him, claiming that it was normal and charging him with supporting the individual who profited off Melody's suffering. The mood surrounding the case grew thicker as the court date approached. Not everyone was merely watching to see who would prevail. They were keeping an eye on who would be in charge. And there was no doubt about that. What followed would permanently alter reality TV. Melody had more in mind than just winning. She was preparing to assume leadership. Carlos King was occupied with his on-camera and in-court defense. In the background, Melody Shai was taking actions that would alter people's perception of her. She was engaged in more than one altercation. She was creating a brand new kingdom. Nobody else had the pen. This time, soon after, word spread that Melody had applied to launch the Shari Media Network, her own production firm. However, this was more than just something they enjoyed doing. It was a direct response to everything that had happened to her. A sudden and deliberate shift from celebrity to tycoon. According to Melody's co-workers, the organization is a multi-platform powerhouse dedicated to providing a platform for Black women to share their authentic, unvarnished stories. Just the facts, without any pretextual drama or ulterior motives. The blueprint is enormous. A collection of dramas with scripts that are based on actual Black families in the South. Talk shows featuring women who have been deceived and recovered stronger, as well as documentary-style pieces about motherhood, launching a career, and healing. And Melody herself hosted an unscripted competition show for women who wish to launch their own companies as the main event. Real stories, real healing, real power is the tagline. The major announcement, however, was that a multi-part documentary series was already under development. It was originally titled Melody Shirini's Narrative Unscripted and Unbothered. It would display every event that took place. Her ascent to stardom, her divorce, her court battle with Carlos, and her recovery of control over her narrative. It would include interviews, court documents, and behind-the-scenes videos that are unavailable elsewhere. It's a tale of reclaiming. A full circle moment, rather than retaliation. Already, investors were circling. It was reported that BT Plus was interested in purchasing the documentary series as an exclusive. That agreement would significantly alter the balance of power in Black reality TV. It would be impossible for Carlos King to stop. Melody was also aware of that. Because of this, sources claim that she is also employing actors and staff people who were let go or fired during Carlos' tenure as manager. 2 former Love and Marriage Huntsville cast members had already committed to producing Ganu series with SMN. She is rapidly becoming more visible on social media, previously receiving 5,000 views. Instagram Lives now receive 30,000. Her YouTube channel had more subscribers in 3 months than it had in 3 years. She made no requests for interviews. She began receiving calls from members of the media, the Shade Room's essence. Even posts describing how she had changed began to appear. They weren't discussing Melody, the reality star. They were discussing Melody, who experienced a vision. Own silence spoke loudly in the interim. The network was reportedly weighing its options, which included removing Carlos, reaching a discreet agreement with Melody, or even relaunching the business under new management, even though they hadn't officially severed connections with Carlos. Although there was a lot of discussion, nothing was finalized. Carlos was rapidly losing ground despite all his pretense. His upcoming ventures were postponed. People have lost faith in one another. Businesses didn't want his name associated with them in any manner. Additionally, people weren't listening as much as they once did, despite his repeated attempts to alter the narrative. In addition to being more engaging, Melody's story was also more truthful, and that turned out to be accurate. What started out as a lawsuit had grown significantly. A shift in authority and a reckoning. A lady who edited drama in the past was now editing her own destiny. Not only did Melody highlight the shortcomings of Carlos King's empire, she started to create her own after walking straight through them. Not for retaliation or ratings, but because she understood the value of her voice.